So let's just start off simple here. Very easy. You can handle this. Favorite center for your lineup, Geoff?
I'm going to go Mika Zibanejad. Can I handle it? I don't know. I mean, I picked the guy with a hard name to say.
Yep.
Zibanejad's, he's just been really good. I mean, the whole Rangers top line has been really good. Like 15 points in his last 10 games. He's playing with Chris Kreider, and Chris Kreider is just on fire. Zibanejad just is obviously benefiting. I mean, he's got 6 assists over his last 3 games. Rangers are at home here as well. I'm not really afraid of the LA Kings that much. I mean, special teams aren't great. They're an okay team 5-on-5, but I think with the way this Rangers top line is playing, Zibanejad at 7,200 is a really nice value tonight, and that's kind of where I want to go if you're going to pay down off the top guys.
Paul, where you going at center?
You know what? This is a day to fade some of the big boys. I agree with Geoff, and there's a few really lopsided matchups that I'm diving into, and I'll touch on a couple of them here. Roope Hintz costs only $6,900. He has 11 points in his last 10 games, traveling to Philadelphia. They've not won in 11 games, a club record, I think, and they're decimated by injuries right now. Not COVID. They're legit injuries here on this roster, so they're feeling an AHL lineup pretty much against the visiting Stars, who are on a pretty good heater right now. Then I also like Ryan Hartman as my other recommendation. He's only $6,000 as the Wild host the woeful Canadians. I'm not going to get tired of saying that, who have won only 2 of their last 10 games, and believe me, that's an improvement for them over the time before. First line minutes await him between Zuccarello and Kaprizov. They're going to have points night there in Minnesota, I think.
Guys, we'll stick in DFS. Let's go to the wings and things department. Paul, who stands out to you? You got a guy? You got a couple?
I got a couple. David Pastrnak is on fire for the Bruins, scoring 11 goals in his last 10 games played. They host an Anaheim club that is only 3-7 in their last 10, while the Bees are 8-2. Pastrnak cost $8,600 and is the hottest player that I'm willing to pay up for tonight. I said I like the Dallas matchup. As stated earlier, Jason Robertson is on fire for them too, with 8 goals and 8 helpers, along with 35 shots on goal in his last 10 games, costing $6,400. Part of the Stars' top line up there as well. And I want to get a piece of the Avs big line too. The cheapest option there is Gabe Landeskog for $6,500. He's got 6 goals and 6 helpers, 28 shots in his last 10 games, averaging 14.4 DraftKings points per game. Chicago comes to Colorado on a 3-game losing streak, giving up 12 goals in that stretch. Signs are pointing to a high-scoring game there.
Yo, Geoff, you want a carbo load here with Pasta? He's got 2 games north of 27 fantasy points in his last 5.
I mean, this is one of those slates. It just feels like you can't go wrong on the winger department. I feel like I could mention about 10 players here, and we'd all just be like, oh, yeah, that's actually a good play. Pastrnak is one of them, but I think you just pay down for Kirill Kaprizov here. I mean, 4.6 shots, averaging over his last 10 games, 15 points. This guy's been super consistent. He's averaging over 19 fantasy points per game over those last 10 games as well. And, I mean, realistically, like, he's got the best matchup, and he's cheaper than Pastrnak. So I think Kaprizov is the guy you really want to pay up for. I mean, again, I don't need to go over the Montreal stats at this point. They allow 35 shots on net. And with all the poor special teams, the quality chances they give up. I think if you're paying down too, Paul mentioned the Minnesota guys. I mean, getting a piece of that line is fine, but don't forget about St. Louis in this spot either. Jordan Kyrou, 6,100, playing alongside Vladimir Tarasenko. Now that line is healthy. There's some good value with St. Louis tonight. I like them just as a play, but yeah, winger is stacked. Paul's right. Go cheap at center and just load up on the wingers.
Geoff, let's go back to the blue line crew here, and I'm looking at 2 dudes north of $7,000, Makar and Pietrangelo. One of them, will you stuff inside your lineup?
No, I will not stuff either inside my lineup because I've paid up so much. I've carbo loaded at winger tonight. And the thing is, Pietrangelo is nice. He's a consistent play, but you can get Shea Theodore for $5,900, and I really think that's where you should start tonight. I mean, Theodore, since he's been back from injury, he's been excellent. He's averaging over a point per game over his last 10 games. He's averaging just under 5 block shots plus shots on goal per game over that spot as well. I'm not scared of the Washington Capitals anymore. It's a team that's banged up on defense. They don't really have great goaltending either. Theodore gets you power play time. He basically splits power play exposure with Alex Pietrangelo every night as well. So take the cheaper guy who's producing. Shea Theodore is great. And if you want a cheap guy, Justin Schultz, playing big minutes for the Washington Capitals as well. They got major injuries on the back end. Orlov now out, it looks like. So Justin Schultz, a good value option too.
Paul, what's your strategy here back at the blue line?
You know what? If you're going to take a big price tag tonight, it's got to be Charlie McAvoy for me. Not only is this guy a point per game player in his last 10, but he's also blocked 16 shots. None of the other guys do that. and he's playing over 23 minutes as the power play quarterback for the Bruins. We know how good that attack is, and that's going to cost only $6,200 in that favorable matchup that I touched on earlier. John Klingberg, if you want to go cheap, this guy's picked up his offensive pace at a time when he's reportedly asked for a trade, so you know he's extra motivated to get the most out of the possibility of moving, get people excited about it. He's got 9 points in his last 10 games played, and as the power play quarterback over there, I think he's only going to cost $4,900 tonight, so that's a very reasonable price tag for a guy with his credentials. Minnesota's attack is going to be one that's featured in my lineup tonight. I said Jared Spurgeon is their power play quarterback. He only costs $3,400, playing 20 minutes a game and getting all the high leverage minutes on that power play unit. 6 points in his last 10 games. He's going to build on that. I think it's a great value for his role in that matchup this evening.
Paul, let's poke over to the DK Sportsbook here. Which game is going over the goal total tonight?
Well, I touched on a couple of them. I think you probably guessed. Dallas versus Philly is a lopsided matchup. The line is set at 6. I think the Stars could get there by themselves with half their lineup coming from the AHL. It should be reasonable to expect a big goal total on their share. And then ditto for the Bruins hosting a reeling Anaheim club. They're going north while the Ducks are going south, and that 5.5 line is very low as well. I think I'd go to the alternate line there for 6.5 to get a better payoff, in fact. And finally, I think Minnesota's in for a points net, as suggested, against Montreal, so I'll take the over the 6 line there.
Geoff, 5 of the 7 games have a goal total of 6, the other 2, 5.5.
Yeah, it could be a really fun night from a fantasy perspective. There's some bigger lines out there. And I mean, look, I'm pretty much on the same overs as Paul here. I'm going to go to the Dallas Stars and Philadelphia Flyers and talk about them a little bit. There's a couple different ways you can bet this too, but you've got a Stars team. They've scored 5 or more goals in 5 of their last 10 games. The Flyers have allowed 4 or more goals in 6 of their last 10 games. The Flyers have just been over machines. So there's really no reason to stop targeting this team. And I mean, the Dallas Stars offense, their top line, like we already talked about Jason Robertson being on fire. I mean, this top line is nearly unstoppable. I think you can bet the Dallas Stars. I actually like going to their team totals and betting that over 3.5 goals on the Dallas Stars. A little bit better here tonight. You can get plus 135, I believe, last time I checked. That's really good odds. I mean, taking the over 6 here is fine too. Dallas's goaltending really hasn't been that good, but if you're looking for a little different way to bet it, or you just think Dallas is in for a big night, you don't really want to rely on the Flyers, bet the Dallas Stars over team total here. I like that one. Montreal Canadiens, Minnesota Wild probably be my second favorite, but the fact we're even getting plus money on the over 6 with the Dallas line, a little bit surprising to be honest.
All right, Professor, slate approved pick. Favorite bet on the board, Geoff?
I'm going to go to the St. Louis Blues money line, plus 120 on the road here against Calgary. Calgary just still getting too much respect here, in my opinion. They've lost 5 of their last 6 games here. St. Louis Blues come in 6-0-1 in their last 7 games. They're healthy. Their entire top 6 is healthy. I think they have too much speed in their top 6 for Calgary to slow down. Calgary's 5-4-4 at home this year too. I'm surprised we're getting like plus 120 here. I think this is a very good money line for St. Louis tonight.
All right, Paul, bring us home.
I'm in complete agreement with Geoff. I'm not even going to try to give you a second best. Going to build on that case, though. I like the Blues as the underdog in Calgary tonight. I think it's a mistake, in fact. They come to town having won 8 of their last 10, playing their best hockey of the year, while the home club has lost 5 of their last 6 and given up 26 goals in that stretch. I can't explain why that should pay me plus 120, because I think the Blues should be favored in this game, but I'll take it.